Hello everyone! How are you doing today? Great! I was seeing some people kind of falling asleep. I know it's a little bit cold in this room, so shall we all warm up a little bit? You know, like move a little bit in the chairs, move your shoulders, you know, let's get comfy, comfortable and cozy. I'm very cozy under those lights, I must say. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you, Vivian, for the invitation. An honor to be here as a guest speaker and to be closing this IWE conference. Unlike my speaker fellows, I'm not going to have a QR code. Sorry about that yet. But I have a brand new website, www.christineleang.com. I invite you to check it out and subscribe to my newsletter until I become a modern woman and get a QR code. So, my name is Christine Leang. I'm a French writer, speaker, and coach. When I tell my friends that I grew up in France, especially my Chinese friends, their reaction is always like, "Oh, you're so lucky. You know, France is so beautiful, so romantic. 法国很浪漫，对吧?" And indeed, France is beautiful. The proof in these pictures. So, I was quite a cute baby, huh? Anybody here has been in France? Yes, raise your hands. Not too many people. Well, I wish you to go to France one day. So indeed, France is beautiful. But let me tell you one thing. Beautiful is just on the surface. There's always another layer. There's always a backstory to any story. And here is mine. So this is Leang. It's in Thailand. It's a refugee camp, Nan Minh, refugee camp at the frontier between Thailand and Cambodia. And you see, I wasn't born Christine. My very first name was Ida. It was the name of the camp where I was born. My father decided to name me after this camp because he wanted to make it very strong. So that I have this identity about how history impacted our family's history. So that was 1 week after my family managed to escape Cambodia, to escape the civil war, after the Khmer Rouge killed 1/4 of the population of Cambodia, so 2 million people died. And in the run for survival, my family, my parents, they lost 12 relatives out of 18 people, including 2 of their babies. So they lost one of my sister, Kosang, and one of my brothers, Seth, who my mother had to bury with her own hands. Once we got to that refugee camp, which I showed you earlier, it was time to prepare for the next step. So my dad, he wanted to go to the US. And it was totally possible because back then, the countries which were welcoming the refugees from Cambodia were the US, Australia, Canada, and France. But life decided that we would end up in France. So that was us before going to France. On the 8th of October in 1980, we landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris with no belongings except the clothes we were wearing on that day. And life in France was not romantic at the beginning, not at all. So my parents, they had to work 2 jobs each, 1 daytime job and 1 nighttime job. And my brother, the only one who survived, he was 9 years old and he had to look after his 3-year-old baby sister, so me. And we grew up in one of the most dangerous suburbs in Paris, a place where people get mugged, beaten, and sometimes even killed. A place where romantic doesn't exist. but it's rather based by violence. But I was still happy. I was a happy kid. And one day, at the age of 8, I remember I became a French citizen. And I was at school, and my teacher, she told me that morning, from today on, your name is Christine. And I'm like, what? Yeah, she said, your name has changed. So actually what happened is that my dad, he changed our first name, but he didn't tell us. So from that day on, I was Christine, and I was a weirdo for my classmate, because who the hell changed his name, at 8 years old? And at that time, I thought that, so I grew up in that difficult environment, and for me, life was just a tough battle in which you have to learn how to cope with constant change. So, you see, I was born, war, refugee camp, changing names, dangerous suburb. It was quite a messy and complicated start in life. But wait for the rest of the story, it's getting even better. So in 2004, I decided to leave France and come to China. I wanted to come to the country of my ancestors, because my ancestors were Chinese. I wanted to go on a search for my own identity. And I wanted also, I must say, to free myself from the family pressure. And I wanted to give full expression to who I was. The only problem is, at that time, I didn't know who I was. So, it's been 10 years, but I live in China. And in 10 years, I've changed jobs 12 times, and I've moved apartments 30 times. How is this even possible, you might be thinking? And I don't even know myself. So I've changed jobs 12 times. I've worked, like Viviane mentioned, I worked in fashion, in F&B, in nightlife, in consulting, in journalism, in intercultural training, what else? Education. I've moved 30 apartments, so now, I'm very familiar with Shanghai. It's like I have this map in my head, so if one day you come to Shanghai and you get lost, just call me, I might be able to help. My parents, they come from this Chinese traditional culture. And all they wanted for me was to have this stable job with fixed salary, to have a good husband taking care of me, for me to have a house, a car, to have enough money to go on holidays and visit them once in a while. But for a long time, I had none of that. So my parents started to get desperate. You know what I'm talking about, all parents, this is what they want for us. They want stability, they want safety, they want us to be good. But yeah, no, I didn't give them that. So they started to get desperate, and talking about getting desperate, I have a story to share with you. So one day, finally I make it back to France to visit my family, and so I am at my parents' place. And so my mom, she's like, can I have your business card, please? And I'm like, what for? You don't need my business card, I'm your daughter, you know where to find me. So she's like, oh no, it's not for me, it's for a friend. I'm like, what friend? It's the son of one of my friends. I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. So I tell her, Mom, I'm against matchmaking. And she's like, oh, but he's so nice, he's just like you. And I'm like, what do you mean he's just like me? And she's like, well, he was born in the same refugee camp, he lives and he works in China, and he has no friends. And I'm like, thank you, Mom. So he has no friends and he's just like me. Unbelievable. And you're not going to believe it. A few days later, so I'm still at my parents' place, and the phone rings. And my mom says, can you pick it up, please? And I'm like, why? It's your home, it's your phone, nobody's looking for me, so... But okay, fine, I get it. Guess who was at the other end of the line? Yes, the guy who was just like me with no friends. So I'm like, hello? He's like, hello? Who is this? Is this Christine? Yes. Who are you? I'm the son of your mom's friend. I'm like, gosh, this guy is so original, he doesn't even have a name of his own. He goes with, I'm the son of your mom's friend. Come on. Is this for real? So, long story short, this guy, we had nothing in common. So he wasn't like me at all. And when he asked me if I like living in China and working in China, and I said yes, and he said he doesn't, he hates it, well then I had to hang up at him. After that, so I told my mom, don't ever do that again. And we had a big fight, and since then she never tried to set me up with any guy. So the lesson of this story is know yourself. Because otherwise, you know, your mom, she's going to try to set you up with a guy that's the first guy that she comes across and she thinks is just like you. I'm kidding, but more seriously, you have to know yourself and you have to know what you want. Because this will spare you, you know, the trouble of changing jobs 12 times and moving 30 times. And yeah, so try to know who you are. It's fine to want safety, it's fine to want stability and security, but I believe there's more beyond that. I believe there's something else, there's something bigger for everyone and each of us. The reason why I've changed jobs so many times, it's because in each of these jobs, after a while, I would feel unhappy and I would feel inappropriate. And I was looking for something else. So I've changed jobs so many times because I wanted to find that thing that I was looking for. And I didn't want to settle down until I feel at the right place. It took me, 12 jobs, 3 years working in the destructive nightlife industry, 6 months of sickness from working in the nightlife industry, a boss who tried to abuse me, a severe depression, and many more failures before I was able to listen and follow my calling, before I was able to face my fears and be myself. Because like most of you, I'm sure, I was scared to be myself. You have to have courage to be yourself and to be authentic. You have to listen to your intuition. Your intuition is your most powerful tool. When you listen to your intuition, only when you listen to intuition, you know who you truly are, you know what you want, and what your life mission is. When you listen to your intuition and you follow your dreams, this might get some people to turn their back on you. This might get some people, you know, your friends, sometimes your family, to turn their back on you and to leave you. If this happens, know that this is okay. This is okay, and this is normal. Because when you start to listen to intuition and you have the courage to be authentic, then this is when you let go of the wrong people, the people who pulls you down, and instead you will start attracting the right people, the people who will teach you what you need to learn, and the people who would help you to move forward on the path of your life journey. In 2010, I was close to losing almost everything. I lost my job, I lost my apartment, again, and I lost my friends. My friends got tired of me and my, what they call my eccentricities. So I got really close to losing everything. And also I had finished the manuscript of my first book. But my publisher, he also turned his back on me, he disappeared. So I was very, very close to seeing my dream of becoming a published author come true, and then it didn't happen at that time. So that moment when Shanghai was kicking me out of her bubble was really a dark time for me. But I have this friend, Elizabeth, her name is, Elizabeth, when I met her, she was 50-something lady, French lady, very classy, and she was on her own in Shanghai. So I was really surprised, you know, what does a woman, such a classy lady does on her own in Shanghai. So Elizabeth, she started to open up to me and she told me her story. Her story is that for 30 years, she was living this very comfortable life, you know, good husband, very wealthy. She didn't have to worry about money or anything. And then one day, her husband just kicked her out. He decided that, okay, now I want a second life, so I'm going to start over with a younger woman. So Elizabeth, she lost everything. And Elizabeth, she told me on that day, she said, you know, in life, when you've lost everything, you still have your dreams. And this nobody can take away from you. I hope I can read the Chinese translation, but sorry, I cannot. So when Shanghai turned her back on me, I remembered Elizabeth's sentence, and I remembered that I still had my dream to become a writer. So what I decided was I took my backpack and I left Shanghai and I went on a trip. Traveling always brings me a lot of inspiration for my writing, so I decided to go traveling in China because it's actually cheaper than making a living in Shanghai. And I decided to go to Guangxi province, to Yangshuo, Guilin, because that was the very first place I visited in China. The first time I came here with my parents in '95. When I was in Yangshuo one day, I got lost in the countryside. I was walking and walking far away from the tourist places, and then I got lost in the countryside. And then far away, I see that building, and so I start to walk to that building. And when I pass the threshold, I see a sign, and the sign was saying, 阳说 Tai Chi and Kung Fu School, 阳说 Tai Chi 武校. And you know, there's a Buddhist saying, when the student is ready, the master appears. So I walk into the school, and instead of asking my way, I ask, how much is it to take a lesson? When the student is ready, the master appears. So after a week of intensive training, 30 hours of Tai Chi and Kung Fu training, I knew that Tai Chi came into my life for a reason, not by chance, for a reason, because everything happens for a reason. My intuition was telling me in a very loud voice, you have to learn Tai Chi. You have to do that, you have to stay in this school. And after that, so I called my parents and I say, I'm not going back to Shanghai, I'm not going to look for a new job, I'm staying in this school. And my parents were like, are you nuts? Have you went crazy again? So when I told them it was terrible. It was terrible. I had the biggest clash with my dad. He was furious, you know. He invested so much on his daughter. He worked so hard for her to go to the best schools, for her to graduate from the best university, to get 2 master's degrees, to get a good life. And what was she doing? Deciding to stay in a martial arts school to learn Tai Chi 6 hours a day, 6 days a week for a year. But what happened is that I was scared, of course. I was scared that my family would never accept me again because my dad, he just stopped talking to me for the whole time that I was at the school. I was scared that my family would turn their back on me and will not turn again. And I was scared again when, after a year in that Tai Chi school, I went back to Shanghai. And instead of looking for a conventional job, I chose to teach Tai Chi and to be a freelance writer. I was scared that I would not be able to pay my rent, that I would not have enough to eat. but deep down I knew that this is what I have to do. That my intuition was telling me, face your fear, this is what you have to do. Be loyal to your dreams. And this is right. If you listen to your intuition, if you follow your dreams, this is what you have to do. And sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. What I've learned through all those experiences during all those years is that the only constant in life is change. You have to face your fears. You have to be true to yourself. Our biggest enemy is usually ourselves and our fears. And usually, most of the time, what we fear is something which hasn't happened yet. And something which maybe will never happen. 3 years later, my first book was published. I became a writer, a speaker, a martial arts instructor, a writing and life coach. Today I'm preparing for my second book, which is going to be a memoir of that year I spent in the Tai Chi school. And 3 years later, my father, my dad, he tells all his friends that they should learn Tai Chi because this is so good for health. So, keep focus and choose courage. When I decided to quit France to come to unknown China, I chose courage. When at the age of 27, I discovered that I was seriously sick and I had no health insurance and I was stuck in China, I chose courage. When things got desperate and I was close to psychological death, I chose courage. When I was homeless and I had to finish my book, I chose courage again. When I quit my job to follow my dreams and everybody was trying to talk me out of this decision, I chose courage. Today, every day, when a fear appears, I'm choosing courage. And I'm fighting my fear. So, my dad, he says, make baby steps, but keep walking, and slowly you'll get there. I think in Chinese it's something like, man man lai, ipu ipu. So, what I had to tell you today is, courage is my choice, and I would like to invite all of you to choose courage too. Embrace change, because you learn through change. Hold to your dreams, and in order to do so, choose courage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kristen. I learned a lot. And I know when Leang recommended you and he said, oh, she is amazing. And you are.
Thank you.
You are. Thank you very much. So next Q&A session. Any question?
I love questions, so don't be shy.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Christine, for sharing very exciting story with us. So, I've got a question about your childhood life, because you are in the camp, right? And I think that it was definitely a hard time for you. And I want to ask you, how did you get past to that feeling of feeling hardship, and how did you move forward? What did you tell yourself every day, you can be really strong and positive woman?
Thank you. What's your name?
Jay.
Jay. Thank you, Jay, for this question. Well, actually, I was born in this camp, so I was a little baby, and when we moved to France, I was just 3 months old. So I was too young to remember anything, but I know that it was, well, I can only imagine how tough and horrible it was for my parents. Because they lost 2 kids, and then they had to escape, and my mom was pregnant, and they went through lots of things I cannot even, tell you. So I was too young, but later on when I grew up, I must say at the beginning, you know, for many people my birth is like a miracle, but for me it was more of a burden, because I felt like so many people had to die, and why me? You know, why me? I was alive and I was born, and I felt like I would never be able to make it up for all those people dead. So it was it was not so light when I grew up, because I kept that thought, and I put a lot of pressure on me, until one day I switched my mindset, and I thought, okay, you know, yes, shit happened in the past, but now I'm alive, I have a life, so let's make the most of it. Let's make the most of it, because maybe, like I said, everything happens for a good reason. Maybe if I am alive and I am here, it means I have to do something. And if I can, you know, talk to all of you today, that's a big chance, and I do feel that I am accomplishing my mission. So, yeah.
Thank you. Another one?
Over there.
Christian, this is Sarah.
Nice to meet you,
Today,
Sarah.
I want to ask you a very, very hard question.
Go ahead.
But it's okay. So you quit your job like 12 jobs in 10 years, right?
Yes.
So my question is, did you quit them or they failed you? Thank you.
It's not a hard question. I quit all of them except for one.
Yeah.
And that one, when I was dismissed, is actually after spending 1 year in the Tai Chi school. I went back to Shanghai, and at first, so like I said, you know, I started to teach Tai Chi and do freelance job. But as a foreigner, I need a visa to stay in China, right? So there was a point when I needed to find a job to get a visa, and I did. So I went back to nightlife because, you know, on my CV, this is what I'm good at, you know, this is what the paper says. So I went back to this industry, and it was killing me, you know, because I've changed so much that was not me anymore, and I did a really poor job because I was so unhappy. And so, you know, it was more of I knew it would happen. I knew that my management would dismiss me because they were not so happy about my performance. But that was for the best. So
Yeah, it turned out to be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Very happy for you right now. But you know, you moved like 40 times, is that right?
30. Yes.
30 times
Yes.
in 10 years.
Yes.
God, it's unbelievable. So you like changing, right?
Well, you know, the reason why I wanted to learn Tai Chi is, I don't know how many of you know Tai Chi Chuan. With Tai Chi, what you learn is you learn to be grounded. You know, you have this stance and you learn to be grounded. And I believe the reason why I felt this is so good for me is because from my birth, you know, it was all about moving from one place to the other. From my grandparents moving from China to Cambodia, my parents from Cambodia to Thailand to France, me, Shanghai, and then moving. It's always moving, no grounding. With Tai Chi, you know, I learned that. I learned like to be stable and grounded.
Right.
So since then, I've moved only 2 times.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's a question over there.
Okay, the last one.
London first. Yeah.
Hello, Christine.
Hello.
I'm really interested in your speech. In your speech, you mentioned many times we should embrace our change and follow our heart with our dreams. But we know that in the reality, courage is not the only thing that can be helpful for us to be successful. So what do you think, except the courage, what are the most important or also the necessary for us to overcome the difficulties and to be more successful? Thank you.
Well, if you have courage, I believe that even, you know, yes, you have difficulties, you have obstacles, but eventually, you know, you will get closer and closer to your objective, to your goal and your dream. Of course, yes, you know, for me, I decided that I wanted to be a writer, like make it something professional in 2006. And it took 7 years. And I consider it, you know, not so long. But on the way to that, there was little steps that kept me going and getting closer to it. So, of course, sometimes you want to give up. But if you think, I'll be courageous, I choose courage, and I keep going, you know, even sometimes you have no more motivation, you get back to it. Then I would say you need good friends. You need to have what I call a support group. So a group of people who really believe in you and who will tell you when you are exhausted, when you want to give up, who will tell you, I believe in you. And these people, they give you the courage as well. You know, you think, okay, if most people believe in me, then I have to do it at least for them. So to me, you know, it's about being surrounded by the right people and be true to yourself. Like I said earlier, be true to yourself. Your intuition will tell you. You will feel, you will feel, there's something telling me this is not right for me. And sometimes we're like, yes, but this job is good, it's good money, I need the money, I need to please my parents. But if deep down you feel like there's something wrong, listen to that. And maybe you will not, make a drastic decision right away, but listen to it and slowly it will have some impact and you will get there. You will, get closer to what you really want. And what is it that you have to do?
Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you. Since the time is very limited, so we have to